We've been overseas with Upland for the last few expansions, but, well, it seems like it's finally time to come back into the US and back with a Tier 3 city release in the mix to boot. Did you see what I did there? To boot, it's perfect, right? Hey there, John Henry here, ssftg, welcome to the video. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome my friend. I hope to earn your like and subscription today. I've been waiting for a Tier 3 city since we found out that Tier 3 cities could be a thing. And it's been months, and there just has not been a Tier 3 city. We thought Rio was, and then it ended up being Tier 4. And then we thought, oh, Porto, maybe that... And that ended up being Tier 4, so it's just miss after miss. Now we finally have our Tier 3 city opportunity to build a treasure hunting map in. Now, with the Texas release, and in this case we can actually say it's a multi-city release because we have Dallas and Arlington coming into play here, there are going to be a lot of really interesting things for us to dig into, and we'll talk about that along with some of these KYCs and all of that stuff going on too. There is a huge amount of things that we're going to have to kind of bounce back and forth between because of the treasure hunting map building and all of that. We have to keep some of those new updates in mind too. So one of the first things, obviously, are all of the major updates that we have. We had the rewards balancing, the KYC updates, minting cooldowns, and property snipings, fighting back for that kind of stuff. Absolutely incredible. And looking through some of the things that are in here, honestly, I really kind of dig the way that it's all laid out, but let's kind of break this all down here. So first of all, one thing to understand about Upland is that it's, like they say, is always in a balancing act because there's always something new. I mean, geez, oh Pete's, there's a new city here and a new update here and treasure hunting this and there's cars and showrooms and, I mean, you name it. So of course, it's going to be a wild balancing act. Now, like they mention here, sometimes that balancing and all of that has to do with UPIX and the rates. We've seen those rates drop from 17 to 14 before a few months ago. So these are the types of things that have to take place in order to maintain and sustain the Upland Metaverse to make sure that it's healthy, to make sure that it keeps moving forward. Now, some of these updates that are coming out here, if we scroll down a little bit, are the balance of the UPIX distribution from treasure hunts. We have the balance of Spark distribution by limiting multi-accounts through the KYC checks. Really, really good stuff here to get rid of multi-accounters. And then mitigating malicious activities surrounding property minting and adding some cooldowns and timers and all of that. Really, I mean, it just makes it a more fair environment if we're totally honest here. The KYC changes for the treasure hunts and other activities is something that is going to be a big deal. And like I said, since we're looking at Dallas as being a possibility of a Tier 3 treasure hunting map, I say possibility, I mean, that's going to be my entire goal there, really. This is something that we need to pay attention to. So first of all, completing the KYC check is super straightforward. It's something that you can do right in the Upland app. All players have to do is go into the quick menu in the app, open the settings menu, and click verify your identity, and then you follow the steps. I mean, it's super straightforward, super easy stuff. Now, the cool thing is when you verify your ID through that KYC check, you can set your Upland home address. And, well, obviously, with the Wood Hood, those kinds of things are very important. That big aspect of community with governance and all of that is a really, really big deal. So, obviously, that's something that, you know, they don't want to lean entirely on KYC checks, but they are going to be having it added for several activities related to Spark and UPIX rewards. And, well, we're talking about treasure hunting and all of that, obviously, we need to know about these things. Most activities that have rewards for Spark are going to have KYC. And activities that have KYC identity verification in this round include competitive treasure huntings for exclusive plus, competitive Spark treasures, Spark login bonuses, which are huge, and Spark rewards for ongoing events and activities like Thrifty Trader, Ultimate Fan Challenge, those kinds of things. So KYC, I mean, it's going to be incredibly important to make sure that you've got that taken care of. Going even a step further, some of these that have KYC requirements are going to be locked in the app so you can't even do them, which, I mean, makes sense because that way there's no confusion, but that goes to show you how the kind of steps that they're taking here. Now, along with that, going a bit further, KYC for UPIX activities. The main one here is competitive treasure hunts. And competitive treasure hunts, fortunately for me, is probably not going to be something that I'm going to be diving straight into, given my treasure treasure hunting luck. But that is something that we're going to have to keep in the back of our mind. Competitive treasure hunts completed in cities that have exclusive and rare reward drops require KYC. If you're familiar with city tiers, this means that competitive treasure hunts in Tier 5 cities won't require KYC because there's no exclusive or rare hunts. But these activities will be locked in the app for those without that KYC verification, so it'll be pretty obvious that you need it. Another really big thing here, and this is something that I'm just terribly guilty of because I've actually gone up to executive status now with the launch of the Bel Air Farm Part 2. It's been a little bit crazy, but the KYC is required for the Director Block Explorer. That's the custom block explorer that you get. I've been so pumped about the Thrifty Trader one because it just fits so well that I haven't signed up for my custom one yet. But you can't get one unless you have that KYC taken care of. Now, going into treasure hunting a little bit further, treasure hunt balancing. There are going to have a few things along with the identity KYC verification checks and all of that. Competitive treasure hunts will have a tier cooldown. After collecting a reward from a competitive treasure hunt, you're going to have a cooldown period. So that, I mean, some of these rewards that we've been seeing coming across are astronomical. And when it's the same person over and over and over again, back to back, it's like, man alive, come on, this is getting a little bit old. Give somebody else a shot. Maybe that's just me because I know that I'm going to have a difficult time getting to them, but that's kind of the mentality here, and it sort of makes sense. Adding a cooldown period makes things a little bit more fair so other people can participate as well. Now, the treasure hunt collections, when you're looking at the guiding arrows and all of that, those are going to be hidden, and treasure chest collections will not be possible until that cooldown is done. So it's going to, I mean, good luck, right? That's going to be something that, again, as we get more into competitive treasure hunting, we're going to want to keep an eye on. This change is going to also discourage multi-accounting and promotes a healthier distribution of rewards, which I definitely agree with, especially with some of these 100+ K rewards. I mean, these are nuts. One aspect that I'm very glad they're doing is modifying the cooldown based on the treasure hunting tier of the city. The lower the tier of the city, or the worse it gets, if you will, the shorter the cooldown. And that makes sense because the rewards are smaller as it goes with it. Going on a little bit further, the dynamic treasure hunts update. In addition to the cooldowns and competitive treasure hunting and all of that, they're aiming to reduce the number of cities that are in the competitive tiers that are active at any one given time. This means that competitive tiers are going to be active on a rotating schedule and appearing in different cities over time. And this is to increase competitiveness, to make it even harder. And given the cooldown, I think stuff like this really makes it kind of interesting because this is going to ensure the scalability and the distribution of UPIX and add an incredible challenge to those competitive hunts, which for those who are doing it for that competitive nature, that's going to make it really fun. This also fits right in line with a recurring Rush pilot program that they had a few weeks or months ago now at this point. As Upland continues to grow, they're going to place more and more emphasis on dynamic city-based events and encourage players to explore and appreciate the world or the metaverse around them. And on that note, they're also happy to announce the pilot program was a success and the Rush will be returning on a regular basis. Going a little bit further down out of treasure hunting now and looking at some of the other updates like the property minting cooldown. In addition to all of the other treasure changes and all of that, which I would strongly recommend that you go through and read through all of these updates, of course. But the property minting cooldown is something that we really need to understand, especially going into Dallas and Arlington and some of these new city releases. This is going to be something that we really need to kind of understand. Now, for a normal human, I mean, honestly, I think these changes are absolutely incredible, and this really shuts down all of this bot BS that we have to deal with. The cooldown isn't really intended to interrupt typical gameplay, and the amount of time that's in between these cooldowns really shouldn't have a huge impact. I mean, if you're quick, you're still going to notice it hitting it a little bit against that wall, but it should go a long way in preventing a lot of malicious activity, and I'm okay with a little bit of a delay if it means that we can shut all of that other crap down. So to start, they're looking at implementing a 10-second cooldown between each property mint. That means when you mint one, you've got to wait 10 seconds before you can mint another one. That's amazing because I've seen in new city releases where I'm in position, I'm ready to go, and as soon as things are ready, everything I wanted is gone. And it's like, okay, I guess I don't get that now. This stops that kind of stuff from happening, and it gives people a fair shot so we can actually get those types of things, or at least feel like we have a chance. And on that note, going a little bit further into property sniping, which, geez, oh Pete, if you've been in any of the more competitive side of things of purchasing and flipping properties, you know all about this. I mean, it's whoever's the fastest wins. Well, in this case, in order to mitigate some of those property snipes where you accidentally drop your property at 1 UPX or something, right? Been there, done that. We will be implementing the CAPTCHA for properties initially listed on the secondary market. This means that for 24 hours after listing a property, any attempted purchase will require a completion of CAPTCHA in order to complete the purchase. Now, let's be real here. Completing a CAPTCHA and bots that can possibly do that already, although CAPTCHA does an incredible job at fighting back against that, it's still something that is going to exist. When humans exist, we know how to fight back against these types of things, right? So, really, is this going to make a huge difference? Honestly, yeah. I think this is a lot of padding. I mean, when we're talking the difference between a bot, which is instantaneous and boom, it's gone, compared to 2 or 3 seconds. 2 or 3 seconds is a lifetime when you're talking the difference of accidentally selling your $6,000 property for 6,000 UPX instead of 6 million. That's a really, really big deal. And then we can get into the next fun part of things with Dallas and Arlington, a double feature coming back into the US for a city release. And this one's really, really cool because, first of all, like we've been talking about and why we talked so extensively about the treasure hunting side of things, this is going to be introducing a Tier 3 and a Tier 4 city into the mix. And obviously for me, I'm going to be incredibly interested in the Tier 3 side of things, as are a lot of other people for that treasure hunting experience. Now, obviously, with Texas being, what I think they mentioned in here, yeah, it's the 9th largest city in the U.S., 1.2 million people in Dallas. Dallas is going to be a monster truck of a release. Not only is it Lone Star State, I mean, we're talking, this is huge. Now, granted, the tiering of it isn't that high, but as far as the size is concerned, we really need to keep an eye on how this is released and understand how this is getting released, because it's not all at once, it's going to be in pieces. First off, the Dallas and Arlington launch are going to be taking place on September 29th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So 8, 9, 10, 11, that's 11 o'clock Eastern Time for those of you here on the East Coast. The terminal sale for registration and all of that's going to be on September 26th at 8 a.m. Pacific, and the terminal sale itself starts on the 27th at 9 a.m. Pacific. There are future plans to expand the neighborhood like we talked about here, and they're going to go into detail with something that, holy crap, I am so thankful that they finally gave us, is a beautifully illustrated map on exactly where everything, oh man, the amount of detail that goes into these launch notes are incredible, and I really, really appreciate the amount of detail that's in this. It's awesome. Now, as far as Dallas is concerned, Dallas is classified as a large-sized, medium-priced city, according to the Upland tiering system. That means that Dallas is going to be a Tier 3 city, letting loose about 29,000 of the total 300,000 properties that are going to be available. More parcels will come later when the neighborhood expands post-launch. As far as how quickly that happens, we saw with Rio, and I mean, that can be relatively quickly. I mean, even they come out pretty fast sometimes, so it's as needed, as we've seen, that's been relatively quick. About 27% of the properties in Dallas are going to be allocated FSA for new players jumping in, and it will be launching in vanilla mode, meaning that we aren't going to know what the collections are until after it's released. Now, right next to Dallas, a little bit farther to the west-southwest-ish, we've got Arlington, which is a mid-sized, medium-priced city right next door, and that classifies it as a Tier 4 in this case. Now, because it is going to be Tier 4, it's still only a part of a map. 20,000 of the total 110,000 are going to be launching, but 33% of those are going to be allocated for FSA. And remember, some of the FSA timers and cooldowns have been implemented Woodhood. We've seen the impact of that on Porto and Rio and some of the other drops as well. This is going to be a really, really nice padding for Upland to add to their FSA pocket. If we look at the map below, we can see the idea as to how this is going to launch, the initial launch area being in purple for Dallas and then for Arlington over here. The thing that I find interesting is that, and I'm not sure if these are the actual like zone lines or not. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I hope they are. But if we're looking at it, Arlington looks very small, look very like Vegas-esque, if you will, in terms of size, whereas Dallas is a little bit interesting. That city center is really chunked up, kind of feels like Kansas a bit, but then it spreads out kind of like Nashville on the outside. It's a really interesting mix. I'm so glad it came out as Tier 3. Looking at the structure of things here, the airport will be in Dallas. There won't be an airport in Arlington, so traveling and all of that is something that we're going to have to cover in a second here. As far as the train terminals, yes, those will be in Dallas, and yes, those will also be in Arlington, of course. There's got to be a way to get there. There will be 16 to 22 collections in Dallas and 7 to 12 in Arlington, which again, we could see reflected in the size. We're kind of expecting that. Looking at the overall initial launch of properties, 29,000 in Dallas and 20,000 in Arlington. The total amount, though, is where things get drastically different. Total available properties going up to 300,000. We already covered all of this fun stuff. The one cool thing, obviously, future expansions, yes, and yes, they've got that added on there. And the thing that I love seeing, treasure hunt tier 3 on that bad boy. I love it. The other cool thing, neighborhoods. They're giving us the neighborhoods ahead of times here with the Arts District and City Center and all of this, so it makes speculation a little bit easier as far as where is going to be a collection and where not. Until we get down to Arlington, and then we look at it like, wait a minute, what? East, that's it. East Arlington is the only thing that's launching. So if Arlington's launching, it's either going to be a collection for the base or not. Right. That's just kind of the way that one's launching, kind of a trippy one there. Here are all of the travel routes for you while we're talking about some other things, because when we're looking at the Dallas and Arlington release, we've got to really kind of keep in mind what's happening here. For me, I'm looking at Dallas much more intensely than Arlington. For sports fans, though, Arlington could be an incredible area of focus. For me, though, I've been waiting for that Tier 3 treasure hunting map. I've been waiting for it and waiting so long, and we finally have it getting dropped. For me, I think Dallas is going to be my primary focus. And as far as the zones and all of that go, looking at the collections, we've got some time as far as the collection release being in vanilla mode, and we've got some time for the city drop as well. And we have all of the zones too, so it's kind of nice that they gave us all of that info. My focus definitely going to be much more on Dallas, I think, on this one. So as far as the collections and all of that stuff go for Dallas, what are you looking at as far as your collections? Honestly, we just found out about Dallas, and I haven't really had a whole lot of time to sink my teeth into it yet from a collections perspective. I'm kind of curious to see. Like I said, for me, I'm going to be 100% honest here. I really don't necessarily care what the collections are this time, and I know that sounds so weird to say that, but I'm looking at Dallas from a treasure hunting perspective. So my perspective is more spread. I want a nice web of properties rather than collection properties that I can sell and flip for a profit. Those don't necessarily matter, although they're nice and they will definitely pay for the trip. That's not my main focus. My main focus is building a nice web, and it makes this city release really kind of a weird one for me. So I'm curious, on the collection side of things, are you in the same boat as me? Do you care? And if you do, what are the places that you're looking at? I'm kind of curious to see how this all goes. That's going to do it for this one, though. I hope you have an incredible time minting in Dallas or Arlington, depending on which route you go. And if you're a sports fan, I hope you grab some of those really cool properties, maybe around that stadium area in Arlington. We'll see how things go. Again, it looks like it was only one zone that's dropping there, so it's we'll see, I guess. I don't know. It'll be interesting. That'll do it, though. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. Or shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com, or the easiest way, get in the Discord chat for Woodhood. You're missing out. That's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye.